Welcome to episode 15, George Soros Part 4, 14 Offensive Trading Rules. This is an outline of episode 15. I will go over 14 offensive trading rules of George Soros. This is a source of information for this episode. There are 5 books. Book number 1 is the most important. Rule number 1, discern the chaos and profit from it. Rule number 2, invest first, investigate later. George Soros is the father of fast investing. We have heard of fast food, fast fashion. Wow, fast investing? For example, Soros invested in timber in Indonesia. In 4 hours, he became an instant expert and put on his bet. Rule number 3, when choosing, pick 2, pick the best and the worst. Rule number 4, stay ahead of the curve. Rule number 5, exploit the Soros gap.
The main lesson that I learned during the war is to expect the unexpected. I mean, the situations that you get into are so out of context with what you have grown up with that you have to examine the framework in which you think. And then you realize that we all work with preconceived ideas. And those ideas don't necessarily correspond to reality. So there is this gap between perception and reality. And that's the gap that I have really kind of explored and also exploited.
Rule number 6, the Soros Opportunity. Ride the tide of falsehood and get off before the truth be known. Source, Trader Vic 2. Rule number 7, be a pig if you are right. You cannot bet enough. Here's a picture of some Wall Street pigs.
Once in a decade, and that's when he is George Soros. That's when he just says, you can't have enough of this. And if there's one thing I've learned from him, is that when you're right and you know something, you really feel it, you can't have enough. And the biggest mistake, if I had to sum up his investment philosophy in one sentence, it's that it's not whether you're right or wrong, you just have to have the max on when you're right, and that's his unique innate ability.
Rule number 8, bet on bubbles. Instead of equilibrium, Soros sees the world as chaos, crisis, and bubbles. Now please see the example of George Soros betting on the gold bubble. Source, Seeking Alpha. Rule number 9, understand asymmetric boom-bust cycle. Rule number 10, how to hit home runs with profits and leverage.
And you slowly, you tentatively get things right, but you can't really get the dynamic going until you have a little profit under your belt, because it's very different when you're risking your principal than when you're risking your profit. So that's how you get these runs. When you get it right, and then you can risk more and make more money. When you have lost it, when you are doing poorly, you've got to retrench. And even as you get it right, you don't get the performance until you can do it on a larger scale, because risking your profit, you see, is much easier.
Rule number 11, recognize self-reinforcing trends. Source, George Soros, The Alchemy of Finance.
That characterize financial markets. There are 2 kinds of feedback, negative and positive. Negative feedback is self-correcting. Positive feedback is self-reinforcing. Thus, negative feedback sets up a tendency towards equilibrium, while positive feedback produces dynamic disequilibrium. Positive feedback loops are more interesting because they can bring about big moves, both in market prices and in the underlying fundamentals. A positive feedback process that runs its full course is initially self-reinforcing, but eventually it is liable to reach a climax or reversal point, after which it becomes self-reinforcing in the opposite direction. But positive feedback processes don't necessarily run their full course. They may be aborted at any time by negative feedback. I have developed a theory about boom-bust processes or bubbles along these lines. Every bubble has two components: an underlying trend that prevails in reality and a misconception relating to that trend. A boom-bust process is set in motion when a trend and a misconception positively reinforce each other. The process is liable to be tested by negative feedback along the way. If the trend is strong enough to survive the test, both the trend and the misconception will be further reinforced. Eventually, market expectations become so far removed from reality that people are forced to recognize that a misconception is involved. A twilight period ensues, during which doubts grow and more people lose faith.
Rule number 12, launch coordinated attack. George Soros is not a lone wolf. Very often he attacks with other hedge funds. Source, Robert Slater, 2009. Rule number 13, how to be courageous. George Soros is famous for his courage. And George Soros got it two ways. First, he surrounded himself with beautiful women. Second, to succeed, let time hang heavily on your hands. Rule number 14, successful trading is pain.
I'm immune because I've now got a young team.
I know.
They do all the work, and I'm very supportive and I worry for them, but I don't really worry.
Well, Stanley Druckenmiller and people like that have gotten all the credit.
But they took all the pain,
Right.
because managing money the way we do is extremely painful. A very responsible job and very stressful. And I don't actually feel the stress. If I did, I probably wouldn't be able to sit here and talk to you.
What have I learned today? The 14 offensive trading rules of George Soros. As you can see, George Soros likes to trade chaos, crisis, bubbles, and manias. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave your comments and questions below. Wishing everyone peace and prosperity.